welcome to Slime Time, the Dragon Quest podcast. I am one of our 5 hosts. I'm Saigan. You may know me from my YouTube channel. With me, I have 4 members off of the Dragon's Den. Some of them you may already be familiar with. Some of them you may not. We're going to go around the table real quick and do a quick introduction. First, let's go to Roto.
I make videos on YouTube like Saigan, but I love Dragon Quest. Everyone who knows me knows that.
And next up we have Mimas.
Hi. I specialize in doing translation from Japanese to English, so I could do it the other way around if anyone really needed me to. And so I tend to look into what kind of news is going on in Japan from Dragon Quest and playing the games in Japanese when I can.
And we also have Dwayne.
Yep, I am the astonishing and the amazing Dwayne. I sort of run a website called dqshrine.com, and I've been running that since 1998, and from Dustin, and still working on that redesign.
And last but not least, we also have Destructor 526, who I'm going to just call Destro from now on.
That's pretty good. Hi everyone, I do have a YouTube account too, but it's only got a few DQ vids, so mostly I just play the games like probably most of you do. I have been knowing a lot more about Joker 2 and DQ9 since being in New York City. I have access to a lot of special things like all the really good maps and such. So mostly I just play the games like most people.
Awesome. I'm really glad all of you guys decided to join me for this. I was really excited about this project once I found out that, first of all, there were no other Dragon Quest podcasts, and second of all, when everyone showed interest in it. So thank you all for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
As this is our very first episode, I want to start from the beginning for all of us by just going around and saying how we got into Dragon Quest. Like, what was the first game that you played? Tell us a story. For me, I got a Nintendo back in the long ago in the 80s for Christmas, and Dragon Warrior was one of the games in there. My dad and I took turns playing it daily. He took notes. I ran around chaotically and managed to find things before he did regardless. I especially remember finding the Sunstone before him. I swear he checked the entire world map and never located it. Let's go backwards this time. Destro, how did you get into the series?
Well, it was mostly through my brother. I was either 5 or 6, so this was the early 90s, and for Christmas he just asked for it. We did have Nintendo Power, so I don't know if it was that deal or not, because I know you can get it for free apparently with, like, in the early 90s, but either way, he was just playing it. I think it was more just because, he's about 3 years older than me, so, I wanted to, do what he did, follow him around, so I pretty much watched him play. I didn't play it that much, because it kind of went over my head. I do remember beating it, though, because at the end, I was like, alright, let me just use the save and beat Dragonmon. That's exactly what I did, so at least I beat it. But, I did pretty much that. Then, I think, like, the next year, at a Blockbuster, we found Dragon Warrior 2, and he managed to somehow beat it at 10 years old, without any internet. That still blows me away. And then pretty much, I took a long break until, I found out about emulation on the computers, and that's when I started playing, and then when they started coming out again, I started buying them up whenever they showed up.
I'm impressed you got through Roan without any assistance at all. That is not an assembly area.
You needed Nintendo Power, though, so I remember there was a thing about that.
How about you, Dwayne?
Way back in 1989, I got 3 games that year for Christmas. I got DuckTales, Tetris, and I got Dragon Warrior. And I liked it a whole lot because it was a lot like Zelda, where it just kind of taught you out in an open world, and you could play around and explore as much as you wanted to. And I actually enjoyed it so much I did a research report on it, and I was promptly mocked and ridiculed. But you know what? That was all right because I stuck with it all this time, and it was actually the first thing I searched on when I first hopped on the internet way back in '96.
I think the first thing I searched on the internet was Tamagotchis. How about you, Mimas?
I'm not going to say what the first thing I checked on the internet was, but
I know what mine is.
I don't even remember.
I started in this very similar to Destro, where I was watching my cousin play the game, but I was much younger than Destro when I was watching him. So I couldn't really read at that point in time, but my cousin was cool enough as it was, and it was such a cool game. It was love at first sight. It wasn't until a few years later that I actually finally got a Nintendo of my own to play, but I did watch other people playing it on and off up to then, but it was my favorite game, and me and my sister would play it over and over and over and over again for years. And we knew that there was a Dragon Warrior 2 that had come out, but it had stuff like a ship and comrades, and boy, that sounded horrible. So we didn't actually play any more in the series. But when the internet came out sometime around in it, I did keep up on what was going on with the games eventually, and so I did play a little bit with the emulation for some of the earlier games going back, but I never really got back into it that much until I was in Japan, and it was around the same time that Dragon Quest VIII was coming out, and there was a whole big to-do about that, of course. And partly that encouraged me to go, and I purchased Dragon Quest VII PlayStation at the local book-off, and I took that home and played it for the old winter when it was too cold to go outside. And so, from then on, I was much more of a bigger fan after that.
That's a nice long one, too. I'm sure you were very busy that winter.
It was really cold outside. It snowed there.
What about you, Roto? What was your first?
Okay, well, I
game, not what you searched on the internet. I don't want to know.
It was probably going to do with, that's not related to Dragon Quest. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
But speaking of Mimas, though, I can't imagine the snow. I've never actually seen snow, so I could really imagine how cold that is. But, gotta stay focused. When I first got into games, I was a big handheld kid. I didn't have an NES. I didn't get an SNES till a while out after it came out, but I had a Game Boy Pocket, and I was super obsessed with it. Like my first games, like Hubert and stuff like that, and played through Pokemon and everything, just like everyone else my age. And then somewhere, I don't necessarily remember when, but I was looking for a game to pick up, and I just went on Dragon Warrior Monsters, and I was like, that boy is walking next to a dragon and a little gumdrop and everything else. So I was just like, this looks awesome. And I played it, and I instantly fell in love with it. And me and all my friends, or a few of my friends got it, and we just played it to heck. I remember one time at my friend's birthday party, when he had first gotten it, he didn't do anything with us. There was 12 of us there at his house, and he didn't touch it. He didn't touch us. He was off in his room on his bunk bed playing Dragon Monsters 1. And we just, played it to heck. And after that, I looked into other games. I got Dragon Warrior Monsters 2, and I loved that even more. And I got Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 for the Game Boy, and I was like, I have to play equipment now? This sucks. I don't like this. I managed to beat Dragon Warrior 1 on the Game Boy, but after that, I never finished 2 and 3, never played through any more of the series, and it kind of sat on the backlog until eventually Dragon Quest VIII came out and was like a revitalization of the series. And it brought me back so much memories of when I played it before. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm seeing this game from my childhood in a whole new light, and I can appreciate it now that I'm, older and I have a bit more appreciation for stuff like that. And since then, I looked back into older games, and I've just followed Dragon Quest very vividly up to the point where we're at now, where I try to introduce it into a new generation.
Yeah, I think with being a child and playing some of those games, a lot of the little things you miss, and you don't really appreciate them until you're older and you look back. Like the huge world that Dragon Quest I was, aside from
massive.
Zelda, most games didn't do that. And even now, a lot of games still don't have that same kind of game design where they just throw you into a big open world. And there's really only a couple of series that have the exception, like Elder Scrolls or Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what game is a great entry point into the series for a newcomer, because I'm sure we're going to have listeners who have not played a Dragon Quest game or maybe they did in the past and they kind of remember it, but they haven't gone back yet. Destro, you've played like every game in this series. What would you recommend to someone new to the series or somebody looking to just get back into it?
Almost all of them, but yeah.
Almost. Which one did you miss?
I didn't play the Tornico one for the Game Boy Advance. I didn't play the remake on the PlayStation of the Monsters game. And I didn't play
don't necessarily count.
Yeah.
The Road Victory one, the Battle Road, whatever it's called. But as for what I'd recommend, other than Dragon Quest 1, of course, I would probably recommend 4 and 8. 4 because I just like the story. I like the chapters. Some people didn't like the chapter system because it kind of felt like you kept going back to level 1, but it was a nice way, like you kind of understand, like, what is Ragnar? He's like a soldier, so you kind of understand, like, what does a soldier do? He's slow, he has a lot of attack, he equips really good armor, and it kind of goes that way throughout the first 5 chapters. And then everyone comes together and you get to make this whole good team that you can, and pretty much anything you put together will win, provided you have good levels and equipment. So I kind of like that. The story was pretty good again. It looked pretty amazing for a Nintendo game. Like, just like looking back on it compared to like what Dragon Quest 1 was, this game was so much bigger and so much more stuff could be done. I would probably recommend the DS version because it has more stuff in it, and you get an extra party member, which is pretty cool. As for DQ8, it just like, I thought DQ7 was an okay game. It kind of disappointed me a little bit. It just took so much time to level up and stuff, and the story was kind of solid. The graphics could have been a little better for a PlayStation game, but DQ8 just seemed to take all the things and it just made it such a really good game. The graphics were great. The voice acting I thought was very, very good. The music was amazing. The story was definitely pretty good, too. I liked the skill system, because it's kind of like DQ4 where you really can't mess up with the skills points unless you just, like, put, like, 10 into each spot. You can pretty much just, go at, it's like you want to be a swordsman and you want Jessica to be a magic user. You pretty much can do whatever you want with it. And, I actually like the monster arena because it was something that I had not seen, like they did them, like, in almost every game since, like, the third one. But that one was kind of, like, completely different, and I didn't expect it. But it was pretty well done. Like, I liked how you can call them into battle, but you still have your own party to deal with, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the Monster Arena was one of the best, like, side quests to Dragon Quest VIII. All the roaming, superpowered monsters that you could fight for your group. And, of course, the monster battles made it very similar to the monster battles of Dragon Warrior Monsters.
I just picked a random 3 golems. Hopefully they killed them.
Oh, they were awesome. What about, how about you, Mimus? What would you recommend?
I think the first game is very good anyways, despite the people who think that it's very simple. I think the simpleness of it is actually very good attraction, but it's probably better to play it on one of the remake versions, not just for the improved graphics, but for the ability to just walk onto stairs and have them go up and stuff like that, which otherwise seems a little cumbersome nowadays. Though I also think that 9 is a very good place for people to start, especially if you have a friend who already has the game, that the multiplayer feature is extremely attractive for a new person playing the game because they get that sort of help that you might need the first time you're playing, and that sense of having someone there for you when you need them. And I think 10 will be very good for that also.
Oh yeah, 10. I'm expecting a lot of people are going to get into the series with 10.
If everything goes well, yeah.
Dwayne, what would you recommend?
I gotta say 9 too. A whole bunch of effort was sunk into 9, and it's a little bit of old and it's a little bit of new, where you still start out solo, and it kind of eases you into to roaming around the world and getting used to weapons and armor and spells, and then finally changing your classes and getting companions. And it's also the best game to play if you don't have that much time on your hands. Instead of firing up a big involved game, you can open it up, play it, run through a grotto for about 20 minutes or so, and just put it back. It's a great game for people who are more on the casual side, and it also avoids a lot of the common complaints Dragon Quest gets. It's archaic. There's a lot of grinding. you don't have to worry about a lot of that. And also, it can be had pretty cheap. You can get it. I've seen it for as low as $5 to $15.
Yeah.
And also, if you can, buy it new, because Nintendo really did sink a ton of cash into it, and so let them know that their launch party with Little John was worth it.
Yeah, that was a great title, and definitely always good to support the series by purchasing new whenever possible. Of course, some of the older games, not always possible. Roto, let's hear it.
When it comes to an entry into the series, I think that the DS entries are fantastic. You really can't go wrong with any of them, but there's so much, what's what I'm looking for. It's so easy to welcome newcomers. I think Dragon Quest IX, like you guys have said, is a fantastic entry. It gives you the good feel of the series from old roots, but with a lot of good things that all of the series has evolved into. I think it's nice that the game has, it's not just random encounters. You can choose your battles. There's so much customization within the game. You can, you don't have to wear necessarily the best thing if you like how something looks, and you can totally choose if you want to be like the solo warrior wrecking through the entire game with your axe, or if you want to have a party of mages or thieves or priests. It's whatever, and it's up to you. And I think that's great. Not to mention, let's say, it's just, there's so many DS systems out there, and there's so many people that can join in. If people are fans of Pokemon, maybe they'll dabble in the Dragon Quest Monster series, Joker 1 and 2, which are both great series. And if you play 9 and you like it, and you want to check out more of Dragon Quest, the same style, but some of the older games, and you can check out the remakes, which are all fantastic in their own right. And it's just, any of the games in the DS are so accessible. They're not really that hard to find, and it's just, they're so good, and each of them can welcome one. And the cool thing about Dragon Quest is that if you get a good handle on one, you can probably play all of the others. The same moves, some monsters, are dabble in all the series, but there's that sense of new whenever you play a Dragon Quest title for the first time. Even if you played another one, there's I know these things, but there's new stories, new characters. So there's always that sense of wonder and familiarity that I think that just is one of the special things about the Dragon Quest series in general. But yeah, as far as an entry point, I think 9 is probably the best spot as far as accessibility and just as a game in general.
Yeah, I can't really disagree. 9, it is set up very well into bite-sized chunks for the story, so that you can pick it up and you can play it for only 20 minutes to half an hour and still feel like you've kind of accomplished something and moved closer to a goal. Or you can sit down and play it for several hours and, see how the stories line up with one another and see how they flow into each other. So really, either way that you tackle the game, you're going to get a good experience. And then with 8, 8 is very much my favorite in the series. It's only $10 these days. You can find it pretty much anywhere used, and most people still have a PlayStation 2 lying around and might have just missed this game. And it is a incredible game. The polish on it is perfect. I can really think of no complaints to make about Dragon Quest VIII. It's perfect from beginning to end. Even the voice acting was incredible.
Yeah, Dragon Quest VIII is a fantastic game. It immerses you easily, and even on the site I worked on, when we were trying to rate the best game of the past 10 years, we settled on Dragon Quest VIII.
It's really hard to argue with that.
I can't help but ponder which came first, Ricky Grover or Yangus, because they look so similar to one another.
Call blimey!
I don't know. One must have sired the other.
Who was Yangus' voice actor?
Ricky Grover.
Nice.
And he looks pretty much like Yangus.
I'd like to meet him.
which makes me wonder how long down the line was Yanga's cast before they did the final character designs.
Do you think they just waited until they got the voice actor and they're like, we're going to make him look like you?
He was originally very
if it fits.
Before we move into the other stuff, we did want to bring up that right now it looks like DQVC, which is the virtual shop, Selma's shop in Dragon Quest IX. For those of you who do have it, it looks like it is currently down. It's been down for what, 2 days now? A week.
Mm-hmm. About a week. It resets every Friday, I believe, and it's been down for about a week now, as of this recording.
Yep.
And you still haven't been able to get anything back from Nintendo?
No. I wrote them on Monday, and we're taping this on Friday for those that don't know. My contact there said he wasn't aware of anything, but he would ask. And I haven't heard back since, and apparently people have been calling customer service and haven't been able to get any answers either. So I don't think anybody there knows what's going on. I don't know if it's been shut down for good. If somebody just tripped over a wire in the server room, who knows?
More often than not, I think it's that one.
I hope somebody just tripped over a wire.
Listen, buddy.
You can go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, listen, this wire's been down here for a week. Are we going to move it? Nah, all right, we'll just leave it.
No, they had a Windows update and they forgot to log back in.
Oh.
I think the problem is you can actually connect to it. That's the one thing, because people said they can connect, but they don't get anything. I think if you try to do that with, say, Joker 1, which servers are down, I think you just won't be able to connect, period. So it's really just something between the server and the game, and it just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, they got to keep it up at some point, because even if people can't access the DQV, they got to be able to access it at some level to unlock the code, so they can get the cameo characters and the DLC quests.
But you can get people multiplaying with you.
Yeah, but if you got no one around, that's not a hard thing to guess.
Or you live in a city where you're the only person who plays Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
Which is my unfortunate
yeah, for most people in the U.S. right now, that's pretty much the case.
Yeah.
I would have given at least 3.
What happens with DQ10 if this happens down the line? Because what happens if you've had the game for 5 years or so, and you just thought, oh hey, I haven't played this in a while, and you fire it up and all of a sudden you can't play it because all the servers have been shut down.
They might need a bit more leaning on it, especially since that game, as far as people think, it needs an online. You need to be able to play online regardless at a certain point, anyways. So I think they'll probably keep it on for a while.
Yeah.
Isn't Final Fantasy XI still going?
Yeah, Final Fantasy XI is still going, and most MMOs have a pretty good lifetime on their server. Even EverQuest Online Adventures for the PlayStation 2, they kept those servers active for a couple of years, even after the number of subscribers dropped into the double digits. They had less than 100 people playing the game, and they still kept the servers up for a couple of years after that. They didn't really do any updates or anything, but there's still a community there, and they appreciated it. With also further games, I'm going to use Phantasy Star Online as my example here. There are private servers for a lot of the MMOs that are no longer officially supported. People have gotten a hold of server software or written it themselves, and you can still connect to those private servers and play. So I think that even, 10 years down the line, say Nintendo stops supporting Dragon Quest X, I'm sure there will still be fans supporting Dragon Quest X who will set up private servers to play on.
Oh, for sure.
Though the fact that it's on the Wii might make it a little harder to do that than things that are running on a PC.
Well, not necessarily, since both the Wii and Wii U versions share the same server.
Yeah,
but compared to a PC, it's a lot easier. I know a pirate service for World of Warcraft, so that's never going to go away, but a console might be a little different. So I haven't heard of anything. I know I've seen a lot of games that have completely lost their servers now because of lack of interest, or they just simply couldn't do it. I haven't seen the servers ever like go back up or anything.
Well, for like Phantasy Star Online, it's just as simple as going into the connection settings and blowing out the default connections, and then just changing your IP address that you're connecting to one of the private servers.
Oh, cool. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, it's actually very, very easy to change. So yeah, DQVC is down. We're all kind of just waiting for any kind of news at this point. I would like a confirmation either way, just so I could stop checking it.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have lasted at least 3 years, because I think Joker 1 lasted 3 years, and that game had like no support from Nintendo, so... Especially since this one is just, just collect some stuff and randomly give you items, so I would think it could have lasted at least a few years.
I mean,
I have been abused so much over the years. So if the slightest thing happens, everybody gets all twitchy. Like, no, not again.
Well, it's just like, I was under the impression that the coding for the DQVC didn't take much. Like, the shop setup was already in the game, and it's just accessing online changed it to the appropriate day and stock, etc.
No, it's set by the server. The server tells you which of the list of items it's going to be. So, under that theory, they are doing something. They're choosing what the list of random things you'll get will be. But, it's not going to be, it's not that hard to do anyways. You just choose what the list is going to be. So theoretically, you'd come in one day, you're looking at the server and choose that list. And they could just do it the way the Japanese one did after they stopped updating and just have everything that you could ever have, that you couldn't get anywhere else available on the shop, and they never updated it again, but it always has the same thing each week now.
That's a good way to do it.
But the quests and the guests are on the cartridge, so it's just a matter of an unlock code.
Those ones are, yeah.
Let's move into Destro is very active with Joker 2, and you have a rookie team set up for us tonight for those of us who are either new to Joker 2 or maybe people like me who have only played through the main quest of the game. And I know for myself, after beating the main quest, I'm kind of like, okay, now what? What kind of team should I make to tackle the post-game stuff?
Well, I haven't been active as much recently, just for a bunch of reasons, but this rookie team I have to actually give credit to, because I didn't make it. I'm sure someone's told them, or maybe you just figured it out, but credit goes to RPG Wizard on the Den. He gave me a very interesting team. The problem with rookie is that once you kind of get through the first half of the main game, your monsters pretty much cannot get into rookie unless you actually do a lot of changing, which really doesn't happen in any. I can get you like a scout team, but there's like one really, really powerful monster, and you'll do well, and you don't need to do too much in terms of keeping your monster in there. But with rookie, you really can't do that. So basically, what I did was use a Komodo, which I believe you can scout in Doubtback. It's very easy to get, and he's pretty much, the whole point with him is to use his trait Crafty Fire Breather. So, when you give him the skill set Fire 3, you'll pretty much be just chanting Scorch and just murdering people. He also has Deep Breath on it, which, in case and sometimes in Rookie you'll face a lot of enemies that do just happen to have a little too much HP, because they do something like HP Gambit. So with that, he'll do a Deep Breath, and then he'll do like twice the amount of damage the next turn. The problem is a bunch of things. So one thing is your stats. You have to have a really decent amount of stats just to survive, but also not to have too high stats that you pretty much can't get back into Scout, because then you'll just go right in. And the only, unfortunately, I don't have any formulas or any way to figure it out, so really the only way to check would be to actually just connect and see exactly what the thing says. If it says you're in Scout, you just went too far. If you went into Rookie, then you're good. Also another strategy is, I actually have two monsters, one of which is just a level 2 stump chump. Doesn't have any skill sets of any kind. He has a very low level. He's gonna die the first turn. The whole point is that pretty much if it's a monster that just attacks, he's just gonna attack that stump chump first, which is really good, so your Komodo can take one less hit that turn, and it actually could very much help you in doing it. So I guess the only real way to help is to say what my stats are for my Komodo, which is either level 21. He's a +7, which doesn't really matter at this point, because if you get to level 50, you probably went too far. He has about 505 HP, 72 MP, attack is 273, defense is 246, agility is 108, and his wisdom is capped at 40. That's, like, never going to go away. And as for his skill sets, well, pretty much, from what I gather, if you use a stat boost, it tends not to count, like, overall against you. And that's really one of the things, depending on the skill set you use, depending on the monster, you may get up in a higher rank. So really, I only have one skill set that actually counts against you, and that's Fire 3. The other two skill sets I have is Uber Health, who's completely maxed, just to give him a lot of health so he doesn't die. And Defense Boost 3, which is not completely capped. It's actually, like, I think I have it to 75. So that it basically just has a lot more defense, and the second high, and that's it. That's also the skill set that has the second highest amount of HP. As for Fire 1, you can get Fire 1 from either a Dragoon, a Jaspagan, or a Darkonian Sime. So basically, what you would do is you would just upgrade it to level 50 to skill points 50, and it becomes Fire 2, and then you upgrade that one to 75 points, and you get Fire 3. It levels up all the way. I believe Scorch requires 36 MP. I'm not 100% sure on that, so you probably want to try to get a decent, at least that amount of MP, which is around 72, or you're going to have a problem trying to chant it twice. And you are going to... The problem with Rookie, I see, is that you will die more, or like you'll die at least 1 or 2 times almost every day. Unlike most other ones where I would go 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. This one I seem to go 3 out of 5 a lot. But if you stick with it, the team is just going to get you into the 40s or the 30s almost all the time. And I don't know what else to say.
Didn't really know how to end it.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of it.
Just like it.
And good night.
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't speak it too fast. But basically, you get that team, you should get your slime and tank pretty easily. And if not, you could always try to start a day or 2 later. And if you really wanted the I think it's a liquid metal slime for the top 100, but that should get you into the top 100 almost immediately.
Oh, okay. So the Schleiman tank is a gift for doing well in Rookie?
Yes. If you get into the top 100, you will get a Schleiman tank. I believe it's max level.
Oh man,
and
I know what I'm doing.
And that's the greatest. Most of the monsters are unfortunately that good. Schleiman tank is actually a pretty decent giant if you want to go into stranger battles. But for the most part, I use a lot of the castles from Mega. I just use it for the Ubers. It's a lot easier to get an Uber boost, and that's pretty much that's probably what I do with my Komodo. Just took a monster I had no use for and just put the Uber boost onto him.
Nice. Okay. Wow. Now
it's also
I definitely have a goal now for Joker too, because
I know, right?
I wanted that shit.
And if you're doing it in the story, it's not bad because then you can just if you're good enough, you might be able to get a book, I think, from one of the Incarnate skill sets, or you can just get a metal monster, and that'll make the game kind of easier if you can level them up, just in terms of beating the boss of the game.
Yeah, I've had no luck in scouting metal monsters.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Scout metal slimes. They're not the ones in. Man, it's been a while. The second area.
That ice area that you.
That's too far.
No.
Because they're. Yeah. Okay.
The one that floods.
Yes.
So yeah. The Dalback.
Yes. Yeah. Because the med dull slimes, they only give you 80 experience, but if you scout them, they're a metal slime instantly. And the great thing is because you're still scouting metal slimes, when you scout multiple of the same monster, you actually get a lower percentage. But it does not do that. So once you get 100%, you're just going to keep scouting them, and that's the fastest way to get any metal monster. Just keep scouting metal slimes.
Keep scouting.
All right. Dwayne, did you bring us a featured oddity of the week?
Yes, I'm gonna link it in the description here, and maybe people can see it in the chapter artwork. Let me see what I can do here.
I'll definitely include it on my YouTube video release.
I search in Japanese just to see what I'll find, and most of the time it's just horrible. It just makes me say, "Damn it, Japan! Why do you do this? Why?" And even with filtering on, I still get porn. But okay, I can't find it right now, which is probably a good thing. but it's basically the hero from it's a drawing of the hero from DQ3, extremely muscular, wearing the bathing suit and the shield with the 3 eyes on him. I don't remember the name at the moment, with a tiny knife cutting through a slime stack. And what makes this so horrible, because it's like, come on, slime stacks are not even in DQ3. It's factually inaccurate, and all 3 of them are blue.
Just
like slime stack.
Accuracy of the picture.
It's just so inaccurate, and you'll have to see it later.
Shame on that artist. Well, let us
I know.
If you find the link, I'll throw it on my YouTube release. Nevis, you have some news on like Dragon Quest X and things that are coming out in Japan. I know there's something about a keyboard.
Yes, well, we're going to start off with the fact that the beta is currently running right now on a special event version 2.1, beta 2.1, and that will be running to this Sunday. And then next week, version 3.0 will be starting up, and that's going to start the introduction of the Genki Dama Spirit Bombs, which are a special item that will allow you to have your experience and gold that you get in a fight increased. I think it's doubled each time during the period of time that it is active. And Spirit Bombs, these Genki Dama, they're very interesting because you get them for not playing. The longer you don't play, the more you build up, and so it actually rewards you for not playing the game by giving you these.
It's like, thanks for going outside. Here's some XP.
It's fine. It's a way to encourage players who might have gotten tired of it, of the grind, to make sure they continue playing. That's not a bad idea.
I like that, because then you're not going to feel like awful, like, oh, I have to go to work today, or I have to go to school today, or I should probably go hang out with my friends for a while, and then you come back and you get double experience and gold. It's like,
especially
cool.
Especially if
you're like Dragon Lord, come on.
Competitive, if you're competitive and like your friend's like been offline, or like you've been offline and your friend's like, yeah man, I about passed you up by like 3 levels, hey, you suck, and you're like, oh yeah, got a spirit bomb, what now? And you just like power level, you like metal slams, eat it. Like passed him up in level, and then it's like, bam, I win, baby. What now?
They're also going to be redoing the support comrade system slightly. We don't know too much about what they're going to be doing to it. Currently, it sounds wonderful, so it can only get better, is my opinion on it. So we'll see next week what the reports are. Yeah. So that's the beta. Of course, with Dragon Quest X coming out soon now, August 2nd, there's a lot of interesting things, toys coming out. So one of the things that was just announced was that they're going to have for the Pepsi Next, or Pepsi Next in America, I believe. When you get that in Japan, you'll be able to collect monster figures for all the Dragon Quest X, well, not all of them, but some of the popular monsters are going to have figures that you can collect with a little bottle type. And there's also going to be a release of some more plush. 2 of the monsters, Omutsukori. That guy is going to have a plush as well as the Whip Ghost, which is a Whip Ghost. Both of those will be coming with a special coupon that you put into the game that will give you some extra things. 1 spirit bomb, some fluffy fabric of some sort and stuff like that. So
for the alchemy.
It's all designed for alchemy, that particular set. While they're also coming out with a slime keyboard and a USB stick. With the slime keyboard coming with a coupon that will give you 2 Genki Dama, while the USB gives you a Draki t-shirt that looks kind of all 8-bitish, and personally it's not my style.
Yeah, I saw the picture of the Draki t-shirt. It looks like they went to a generic print shop.
Yes. Like I could make that and wear it at Anime Expo in 2 weeks and still have time to do more than that.
Yeah.
It's a Cafe Press T-shirt.
Yes, exactly. Right off of Cafe Press.
So there's a lot of other Dragon Quest X news that's been coming out this last month on their website. They talk about the start of the story and how that will work with it being offline. And then whatever tragedy strikes, it strikes, and you are then going to start the online portion, which is in the which is where you choose which your character that you'll be playing online. So it doesn't have to be anything connected to your previous one. I don't know, maybe they'll enforce gender, but you can be completely different looking, and you choose your what species you're going to be and how you'll look and stuff like that.
You start the game as a human, right?
You start the game as a human, and then something goes wrong, and so you have to rely, from looking at the screenshots, probably the gods of each of the different races. You choose which god is going to help you, and then you get that body.
I just want to find out.
The tortoise.
I just want to find out if later on at some point you'll be able to go back to a human body.
Well, one would think that from the trailers that they showed earlier, but at least we know that there are ways of somehow or other playing offline from that, even after that point, along with your sibling that you create. But any of the information on that hasn't been released yet, so it might be possible that you can have a whole different storyline that you can play offline that doesn't give you anything close to what you'd get online, but you can still finish the game, is a theoretical thing that they might be doing.
Yeah, a lot of people I know are hoping for that, because not everybody's keen on the prospect of it being an MMO.
Yeah, but there is the other thing that has been announced just this week is the kids' time. And that solves a lot of people's problems in the idea of having to pay for it. Since kids' time is a period of time each day that children are allowed, or anyone, because I'm not going to check on identity, can play the game for free in Japan. And my theory would be if they have that in Japan, if they bring it here, we're likely to have kids' time also. So
I'm still confident that it's not going to be in America, but
yeah, well, at least kids' time is 2 hours each every weekday, including when they have holidays, from 4 to 6, and on weekends it's from 1 to 3 for 3 hours.
I like that. That's a really good idea, because oftentimes people don't want to get into MMOs because they're paying a monthly fee and they may not always have time to play. But with that kids' time, they'll have that window of time that they can play without having to pay the fee. I think that's a really good idea, and I think more companies should look at adopting that kind of model.
I just want them to change the name, spice it up a bit, call it, instead of like kids' time, call it super happy fun free time for 2 hours or something like that. I'd play that.
You could write
in Japan, kids' time sounds cool enough already, being in English and all.
I want my super happy fun time.
Super #1.
Write them a letter. Ask them nicely.
I will. I'll have Mimas translate it for me so they can understand me.
Yeah, and I'm going to just change it to be a completely different letter.
Oh.
Dear
because I'm not paying you.
My name is Roto. A big fan. Please, give me kids' time.
私の名前はローソです。キッズタイムが大好きなので、その名前で英語でなんてね。
Right
we also have information on alchemy.
I'm just impressed with your skills there.
Yeah.
Go on.
Bravo.
Well, near the end I kind of messed up, but we'll ignore that.
Nobody would know.
Oh, I'm sure there's people who would know. So, there's also information about alchemy, where not only can you make weapons that they are, but you can also take the weapons you've already had and have them have whatever magical properties you want them to have, which is pretty interesting sounding. And that was the lamp alchemy. And there's also, they talked about a new character who is a Wena type person who, if you're playing as a Wena, you start out and you run into him immediately, but supposedly he's reoccurring throughout the game, and he is supposed to be your rival character. But
for those that don't know, the Wena are one of the races in Dragon Quest IX.
The races?
To live on an island. A series of islands, actually.
So are they the blue fish people?
Yeah, the blue-skinned.
Alright, that's what people will know. We're not being racist now. They're just fish people.
There's
I'm
fish
just,
people, there's
I'm just kind of...
there's dwarves, there's fairies, and...
The elves, not fairies.
Okay.
Listen, they're fairies.
That was a fairy.
And they will
I'm
be
just kind of
crushed by
wary
the
of
ogres.
the whole rival concept because that's used in so many Japanese stories, and it always winds up being exactly the same. You team up with your rival at the end, take on the big bad guy, and you're all friends at the end, but not really. That's kind of what drove Slime Mori 2 down a little bit for me. Is because the Slivel, I think what they called him in the US version.
Yeah.
It's just like once you met him, you knew it was going to end that way. So it was kind of like, I never know what's going to happen here.
Well, you never know in this case. It could be that he goes and helps you and then dies a horrible death.
Or
I hope so.
Or they could go the Pokemon Red and Blue
That's not
aspect,
bad.
where he ends up being the final boss.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully they do something with it because
Spoilers!
Because the rival, the whole rival concept is always kind of a story killer with me, manga especially. You're reading it's like, okay, here we go.
He just
Done.
stabs scripts. He's a story killer.
It's
No,
kind of
I know what's going to happen now. We're done here.
For Slime Mori 2, I kind of saw it fitting, though, because Slime Mori 2 is such a lighthearted, more storybook.
Rocket Slime too.
Yeah. Well,
Or Rocket
Slime
Slime,
Mori 2 is...
Rocket Slime.
Slime Mori 2.
It's already a very light...
Confuse the audience even more.
Okay, we're talking about Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime on the Ds. It also happens to be Slime Mori 2 in Japan because there was a game that came before it. Regardless,
It's a fantastic game too, and it totally should have come here. We got Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories instead, which I played that until the very end, and I kept getting the Kingdom cards for everything.
So continuing on.
Okay, sorry about that.
Go ahead.
We also have the release of Dragon Quest Monsters, Terry Swindleland, and that's been a big talking about that and all the various monsters because it has tons and tons of them, and of course there's also a bunch of toys that came out with it, so those are all very exciting.
Came out with it.
But probably to celebrate that game coming out again, something I'm pretty excited about is that there is going to be a reprint of the Dragon Quest Monsters Plus manga, which is a series about a different boy who ends up coming to the world of the first Dragon Quest Monsters game, and he goes through, and we have a lot of interesting times where he will meet the hero of the first game and stuff like that, and it's only 5 volumes. The reprint is going to be 4 volumes, though, I believe, with new covers, and I think it has a poster also.
Oh, nice. I've seen. I've got those volumes, and I flipped through it. I really haven't read it too much, but it looks very nice. Has a pretty unique art style to it.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty famous, well, not famous, artist who did it. What is the English name? Sergeant, Frog? Is that the English name, if anyone's heard of it? The manga artist of that is the person who did that manga, so.
Oh, cool.
So it's a very pretty looking, and the throwbacks to having Dragon Quest 1 and 2 characters showing up, they never reached 3 really. I think it looked to me like it got canceled, unfortunately. But it was a very fun, interesting manga that if you happen to go to a Japanese bookstore in the near future, you'll be able to pick up new and pretty.
Sounds tasty and delicious, although it'll probably never come to America. But still, thumbs up. I'd read it.
Yeah, the mangas don't really... Did we get any mangas here?
No.
I think
We got Dragon Ball.
We got the Dragon Warrior,
Dragon Ball.
Abo,
Yeah, we got
anime.
Double, and we got 5 or 6 episodes of
13. Oh, what's that? I'm sorry, say it again.
Guy.
No,
Oh,
Dai.
Dai,
We
yeah.
didn't get any Dai.
No, Dai.
I wish we had Dai. I love Dai.
In France and in I think oh man, where did it come out? It came out in Spanish, I know.
Yeah, France, Spain,
Mhm.
Mexico.
It got a release somewhere in the Middle East too.
The anime did, yes.
I don't know if you've heard the theme song for it.
Yes, I have.
I think it's the best theme song, actually. Wait, Monster Encyclopedia. Tell us all about it.
Yes, well, as most people know, then the number one reason folks go to ye old DQ Shrine is to swipe the original monster art, and that came from the Dragon Quest Monsters art book from 1996. I got it from animebooks.com back in 2000, and they actually had it on sale, I think, up until '05 for $40, and it was going for like $300 on eBay. But for the longest time, if you wanted to see the actual artwork, nice and big, not shrunk down in a guide or anything, that book was king. It covered 1 through 6, and was the original G Pen and Luma ink artwork right before they started using Photoshop for 7. But now this came out about 2 weeks ago over in Japan, and it's the Dragon Quest 25th Anniversary Encyclopedia of Monsters, and it's a 495-page book, and it covers every single monster from every single game, and it's organized in a very weird fashion. It starts instead of being organized by game or family, it's organized by how many monsters have been in how many games. If that makes sense, it probably doesn't. But for example, the slime, he's been in the most games, and so he's on page 1. And as the book goes through, it gets smaller and smaller until the monsters that have only been in one game are at the back, and it covers all of them, including the palette swaps. And unfortunately, about a quarter through, the artwork starts nice and big, and about a quarter through, it starts getting smaller. It starts getting about 2 on a page to 4, and then 6 by the very end. But unfortunately, it's not 100% complete. It's missing a big chunk from Dragon Quest Monsters 2, and that's really strange. I don't know if maybe the budget kept them out, or maybe they weren't popular enough to really be in there. But they're represented as sprites, and a few monsters from 2 and 3 are sprites as well, and that's also kind of strange because these Photoshop versions of these pieces of artwork do exist. They were in both the Japanese and U.S. guides, and the monsters for 2 and 3 were used recently in the Anniversary collection. But it's it'll cost you. It's about 2,400 yen. It is about
Like
around 30 US. But it'll cost about 50 shipped with import prices and shipping. Shipping will cost you at least 10 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But every single boss monsters in here except for some forms. Forgo Demir's human forms not in it. A couple of the final boss from 6, his first 2 forms aren't in it. But sadly, my 2 favorite monsters, which are the bonus monsters in 5. Puan, which is Reborn in the US version, and Starkers, they are in there. First that I know of that their artwork has been printed besides the current Terry's Wonderland jump scan, but they're in there, but their artwork is tiny, and they are such they're such great pieces. It's a shame that they weren't bigger, but for most fans it's great. I certainly think it's worth the money. For me, who's looking for stuff to scan, which having incomplete monsters drives them nuts. It's just a little bit annoying for me, but outside of that, it's great. It's got all the stats. It doesn't fall into being just a mess of HP lists like a lot of Japanese sites are. But yeah, any questions about it?
I just wish they'd had 2 volumes to it rather than trying to stuff it all into one book.
Mm-hmm. But it is almost 500 pages, and I think if they reworked the layout, I think that they could have kept at least 4 to a page, and it would have been okay.
Does it
Tree
have
Summon
like
Trop.
what's up?
I was just gonna say Tree Summon Trop with Joe in it, so I'm cool. It's the best book in the world for me, man.
That's right. It is. It is there, but sadly they are some of the smaller ones on there.
Oh, Square Enix, you messed with the wrong. You missed the wrong slimes.
It is. It is nice to have some of the rare bonus boss artwork, like the ones from Dragon Quest IV, all of the Caravan Heart monsters, which I don't think were even printed in the official guide for it. So yeah, a lot of rare stuff in there. Worth a shot, and it goes through every single game, even all the cell phone games.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to add that to my list of things to order. Probably going to have to happen after the new round of Safubi hero figures, since they're putting out 4, 5, and 6. I already got those pre-ordered.
As do I.
There's no posability to them. Makes me sad.
I'm leaving them in the box, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I got the best item that they're releasing. I have on the way to me is the stuffed Wadaboo. That's all I need.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, from Monsters 1. I bet that makes you pretty happy.
It does. Brings back my childhood. Coming in a box from Japan.
We are nearing an hour, so I think we're good for tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed listening.
I had fun. I'll get better as I go along. Hopefully I won't be so nervous.
Oh, I think we're all a little rusty, a little nervous. First podcast, Dwayne, I know it's yours. I think, Roto, you're the only one here who's been on a podcast before, right?
I'm good. I'm comfortable. This is fun.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us. This was the June Slime Time, and this was our pilot episode. We'll see you guys next month, all right?
Later, everybody.
Bye. Enjoy it.
Johnny.